You won't believe the questions that Canadians have about retiring abroad. In this video, we are going to dig deep into the most searched retiring abroad from Canada questions and answer them. You are going to want to stay tuned to the end because a lot of these questions and their answers will surprise you, especially the bonus question. Let's get after it. You won't believe the incredible response to a video I posted entitled Retiring Abroad, Do You Lose Your CPP and OAS If You Move Out of Canada? In that video, I dug into how you can still receive your CPP and OAS benefits even if you leave Canada. And to my astonishment, that video became one of my most successful videos on the channel by far, racking up over 7,300 views as of this writing in an unbelievably short time frame. Now, when an overwhelming reaction to a topic like this happens, I naturally want to find out why, and this prompted me to dig deeper into why this particular topic resonated so much with you, my audience. And as I quickly found out, I discovered something truly astonishing. Canadians are fleeing the country in record numbers, reaching some of the highest levels ever in our history. In fact, I read several articles about how emigration from Canada to the US hits a 10-year high, and Canadians flee the country in the fourth highest volume in 73 years. And when you dig into the reasons as to why this is happening, it's not really all that surprising. One of the main drivers of Canadians retiring abroad from Canada is Canada's exceptionally high cost of living. Soaring housing prices and overall expenses have made Canada unaffordable for many people. And when you pile on Canada's harsh winters on top of the fact that people can't afford to buy a home, you can see why they are leaving in droves and tuning into my channel to see if they can get their CPP and OAS. So in this video, we are going to dig deep into the most searched retiring abroad from Canada questions and answer them, so that if you are considering retiring abroad from Canada, you can learn some of the most sought after information. But before I share those questions to you, you might be wondering who I am and why should you even listen to me. I would point you to my introductory video on the channel for a deeper dive into my background. But the short answer is, out of the literally thousands of unlicensed financial influencers on YouTube providing financial advice in their content, I am not one of them. I'm a fully licensed fiduciary portfolio manager and investment advisor registered in Canada and the United States, able to provide advice with the securities commissions on each side of the border. That said, make sure that you consult with your investment advisor before making any financial decisions about anything that you see on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, please consider subscribing and hitting the like button. When looking at my metrics, I noticed that over 90% of the watch time generated is by viewers who are not subscribed. Subscribing and hitting the like button supports the videos and helps us tremendously to reach many more viewers. So thanks again in advance for your support. Also, if you're from the US or have cross-border needs, you can also feel free to check out my affiliate channel at Joe Macek USA for US retirement planning content. Now here are the most searched retiring abroad from Canada questions and the answers to them if you're considering retiring abroad. Number 1, what is the easiest country to retire from Canada? According to Google, some of the easiest and best budget-friendly countries to retire to include Ecuador, Georgia, Albania, Colombia, Bulgaria, Thailand, and Mexico. Rural areas in Portugal, Spain, Cyprus, and Mexico are also recommended for their affordability and peaceful living environment. When it comes to safety, though, Portugal emerges as the top choice for many Canadians looking to retire abroad. With its stable political climate, low crime rates, and excellent healthcare system, Portugal offers retirees a relatively secure and enjoyable retirement destination. Number 2, can you collect Canada pension if you live outside of Canada? The short answer is yes. You can collect Canada Pension Plan and OAS benefits if you live outside of Canada, but there are some nuances. As I said earlier, I recently posted a video on this very topic, and in the video, I discuss how you can still receive your CPP and OAS payments regardless of where you choose to retire. Number 3, can Canadians retire in other countries? Yes. As a Canadian citizen, you have the freedom to travel and live wherever you want without any residency requirements to maintain your citizenship status. This is in contrast, though, to permanent residents who must reside in Canada for at least 730 days, which is 2 years within any 5-year period to maintain their PR status. This flexibility allows Canadian citizens to live abroad indefinitely while still retaining their citizenship rights and privileges. Number 4, how long can you stay outside of Canada without losing OAS? Now again, we did do a video on this topic, but the short answer is if you decide to move abroad, you're eligibility for OAS pension depends on having lived in Canada for at least 20 years. If you haven't met this residency requirement, your OAS payments will stop 6 months after you leave Canada. It's essential to fulfill the residency criteria of 20 plus years to continue receiving OAS benefits while residing outside of Canada. Number 5. What happens if I stay out of Canada for more than 6 months? Well, you can stay out of Canada for as long as you want. The Canadian government acknowledges that citizens may travel extensively, work, or study abroad, and you will always retain your Canadian citizenship. However, extended absences might impact your eligibility for Canadian healthcare coverage and income tax status. Number 6. Does CRA know if you leave the country? When you leave Canada, the CRA won't automatically be informed of your absence. However, if you earn any income from Canadian sources such as employment, investments, pensions, and more, you could be obligated to file a Canadian tax return. Failure to do so could lead the CRA to follow up with you at a later date, so it's really essential to fulfill your tax obligations to avoid any potential issues with the CRA in the future. Number 7. How long can snowbirds stay out of Canada? Okay, so when it comes to snowbirds, I'm going to assume you mean Canadians going to the US or Mexico. And in the US, Canadian visitors can typically stay in the United States for up to 6 months or 182 days within a single 12-month period. This time can be spent in one continuous trip or accumulated over multiple visits. However, the US has an interesting residency calculator that you should be aware of. Not a lot of people know this, but you can inadvertently become a US resident for tax purposes if you're not careful, and you might have to file a US tax return. The test for US residency, known as the IRS Substantial Presence Test, determines if you're considered a US resident for tax purposes based on your physical presence in the country. To meet this test, you must have been present in the US for at least 31 days during the current year and a total of 183 days over a 3-year period calculated on a weighted average basis. Included days for calculation purposes include all the days spent in the US in the current calendar year, as well as fractions of days from the preceding 2 years. It's essential to note that these calculations use calendar days regardless of the duration of your stay within each day. I left a link to a great calculator in the description below if you're interested in seeing how it works. In Mexico, a visitor visa permits its holder to remain in Mexico for a duration of up to 180 days on the condition that they do not engage in any paid activities during their stay, though longer stays may require residency permits. It's really crucial for snowbirds to be aware of these rules to maintain their Canadian residency and avoid any potential legal or financial issues. Number 8. What's the 90% rule for CRA? The 90% rule pertains to having at least 90% of a non-resident's income sourced in Canada for the tax year. Meeting this criterion allows non-residents to claim non-refundable tax credits, enabling them to earn up to $15,705 of tax-free income in Canada. This provision supports individuals who primarily earn their income within Canada while residing outside the country. Number 9. Can I keep my Canadian bank account if I move abroad? Yes, you can maintain a Canadian bank account while living in the US or abroad. However, you have to ensure to update the account address to your new non-Canadian address. You should avoid using a family member's address in Canada, even though it might seem convenient, as you are required to notify any Canadian payers and your financial institutions that you are no longer a resident of Canada. Number 10. Where do most Canadians emigrate to? The United States. According to United Nations data analyzed by Statistics Canada, the United States emerges as the overwhelming choice for Canadian immigrants. As of 2020, around 800,000 Canadians had made their homes in the US, a staggering 8 times more than the 100,000 residing in the UK, according to the latest UN figures. And one more bonus question. And this one, I have no idea why this one would crop up in a retiring abroad question, but here it is. Does the CRA watch your bank account? Paranoid, are we? Well, in short, the CRA has the authority to request information from financial institutions, including bank account details, as part of its efforts to enforce tax laws. However, it's critical to understand that the CRA cannot just access your bank account freely without proper authorization. Typically, before accessing bank account information, the CRA must obtain legal authorization, such as a court order or an agreement with a financial institution. These measures are in place to help safeguard your privacy privacy and helps ensure that the CRA uses the information appropriately. It's also important to note that the CRA uses bank account details for specific purposes such as verifying income reported on tax returns or conducting audits. They are not permitted to use this information for unrelated purposes or disclose it to other parties without lawful grounds to do so. This framework helps ensure that your financial information remains protected under Canadian privacy laws. Here's the bottom line. Retiring abroad from Canada involves addressing several critical questions that Canadians should carefully weigh. And by looking at the most searched retiring abroad from Canada questions and providing answers to them, hopefully this will provide a bit more information to you when considering retiring abroad. Understanding how your CPP and OAS benefits can be accessed while living abroad, navigating the complexities of maintaining healthcare coverage, and managing tax obligations from afar are just some of the topics that highlight a significant trend among Canadians seeking more affordable living conditions and warmer climates outside the country. Whether you are thinking about retiring in countries like Ecuador or Mexico, or simply maintaining Canadian connections while living abroad, it's essential to stay well informed. Do you want to know if you lose your CPP and OAS when you retire abroad? Or maybe you just want to find out more about my latest upload. Well, I've got everything all queued up and ready for you. Click here for more amazing financial insights. I'll be waiting. We'll see you soon.